A decision for India to tether its aerial future to the Russian Su-57 platform would represent a profound strategic miscalculation, fundamentally undermining its long-term security, technological sovereignty, and geopolitical standing. The allure of this aircraft is built on a foundation of marketing promises that crumble under the weight of present-day realities, especially when contrasted with the proven, reliable, and strategically aligned alternatives offered by the United States and its allies. The partnership between the world's oldest and largest democracies, the United States and India, is built on a shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific, and this choice would directly threaten the very principles of that partnership. The most critical and immediate flaw lies in Russia's iron-fisted control over its military technology, a lesson India should have learned from the collapse of the previous fifth-generation fighter aircraft FGF-8 program. Russia's model is not one of partnership, but of transactional dependency. They will not provide India with the keys to the kingdom. Access to the most essential and defining technologies of a fifth-generation fighter would be severely restricted, if not entirely denied. This includes the very soul of the aircraft, the source codes for its mission computer and avionics, the complex chemical formulas for its radar-absorbent materials and stealth coatings, and the advanced metallurgical secrets of its long-delayed A30 engine. Without this deep, unfettered access, India's dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliance, becomes a hollow slogan. India would be incapable of performing deep, indigenous upgrades, integrating its own advanced weaponry like the Astra missile series, or adapting the aircraft to its unique doctrinal needs without returning, cap in hand, to Moscow for every minor adjustment. This stands in stark contrast to the American approach with its key partners on the F-35 program, where allies like Israel and the United Kingdom have been granted significant leeway to integrate their own systems, ensuring the platform evolves with their national security needs. The United States fosters technological ecosystems, Russia creates dependent customers. Furthermore, the Su-57 is an aircraft with a resume built on airshow acrobatics and carefully curated propaganda videos, not the harsh crucible of real-world, high-intensity combat. Its supposed combat deployment in Ukraine has been a testament to its limitations, not its strengths. The aircraft has been conspicuously absent from the skies over contested Ukrainian territory, relegated to launching standoff missiles from the safety of Russian airspace. This is a mission a fourth-generation Su-35 can perform at a fraction of the cost and risk. It has never been tested against a modern, integrated air defense system, nor has it demonstrated the sensor fusion and network-centric capabilities that define a true fifth-generation fighter like the F-35, which acts as a quarterback in the sky for all Allied assets. The program has been marred by decades of developmental delays, crashes, and persistent issues with its core components. The A30 engine, touted as the key to its supercruise and performance capabilities, remains largely a prototype, with the small fleet of operational Su-57s, still reliant on older, less powerful AL-41F1 engines from the Su-35. In warfare, unproven potential is a liability, not an asset. The United States, with the F-22 and F-35, offers platforms that have not only been tested but have dominated every combat environment they have entered, providing an unparalleled guarantee of performance when it matters most. The central claim of the Su-57, its stealth, is perhaps its most significant weakness. True, fifth-generation stealth, as pioneered by the United States with the F-22 and F-35, is an all-aspect, holistic design philosophy where every angle, surface, and component is meticulously shaped to minimize its radar cross-section. The Su-57, by contrast, appears to be a 4.5-generation airframe with stealth features bolted on as an afterthought. Its design includes significant radar-reflecting elements like canards and exposed engine fan blades, which are easily detectable by modern radar systems. Its stealth characteristics are considered effective primarily from the front, while its side and rear aspects present a much larger radar signature, making it highly vulnerable in a multi-azimuth threat environment. Analysts have compared its radar cross-section to that of a clean F/A-18 Super Hornet rather than a genuine stealth fighter. In a future conflict against a peer adversary, partial stealth is functionally equivalent to no stealth at all. It provides a false sense of security that would be fatally exposed by the sophisticated, networked sensors of a modern opponent, compromising not only the aircraft but the pilot and the mission itself. Choosing the Su-57 would also chain India to a declining and unreliable partner, creating a strategic vulnerability of immense proportions. The ongoing war in Ukraine has laid bare the hollowed-out state of Russia's defense industrial base, which is now crippled by comprehensive international sanctions and the staggering demand to replace its own catastrophic equipment losses. Russia is struggling to produce spare parts and components for its own military. The notion that it could reliably support a complex, high-tech export fleet for India is a dangerous fantasy. India has already experienced chronic issues with the supply of spares for its existing Russian-made fleets of Sukhoi and MiGs, a problem that would be exponentially worse for the Su-57. This dependency would also place India directly in the crosshairs of powerful U.S. sanctions, specifically the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act CAATSA. A major acquisition of Russian military hardware would not be viewed as a simple purchase, it would be seen as a direct lifeline to Russia's war machine and a deliberate move away from the strategic alignment with the United States and the West. The consequences could be devastating, potentially disrupting India's access to the entire Western financial system and its ability to procure critical technologies from the US and Europe, thereby isolating it at a time when it needs strong partnerships the most. The program's history of cost overruns and delays is not just a historical footnote, it is a preview of what India could expect. The Russian defense industry, now operating on a wartime footing with a collapsing economy, is in no position to deliver a sophisticated, customized fighter on time and on budget. Any initial price quoted would inevitably balloon as Russia passes its own spiraling costs onto its customer. Delivery schedules would stretch into the indefinite future, leaving the Indian Air Force with a critical capability gap for years, if not decades. This is precisely the pattern of behavior that led India to abandon the FGF-8 program in the first place. This financial and temporal black hole would have a devastating impact on India's own indigenous defense ambitions. Committing billions of dollars to the Su-57 would effectively suffocate India's own Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft (AMCA) program at birth. The vast financial resources, engineering talent, and political focus required for the Su-57 would be diverted from the one project that promises true self-reliance and a fighter tailored specifically to India's needs. Instead of building its own capabilities, India would be funding the defense industry of a nation whose strategic interests are increasingly divergent from its own. Furthermore, integrating the Su-57 into the Indian Air Force's increasingly Western-oriented support and operational infrastructure would be a logistical nightmare. The IAF's most modern assets, from the French Rafale to the American C-17, P-8I, and Apache helicopters, are built around Western data links and network-centric warfare doctrines. The Su-57, with its proprietary Russian systems, would be an isolated digital island, unable to communicate seamlessly or share data with the rest of the force, thereby fragmenting and weakening the IAF's overall combat power instead of enhancing it. If India were to choose the Su-57, it would be a decision with generational consequences. It would signal a retreat from its aspirations as a leading global power and a vote of no confidence in its own technological prowess. It would trade the promise of genuine strategic partnership with the United States and other democracies for a state of perpetual dependency on an unreliable and internationally isolated Russia. It would sacrifice its own indigenous AMCA program on the altar of a foreign platform with questionable stealth, unproven performance, and an unsustainable supply chain. Ultimately, it would leave the Indian Air Force less capable, less integrated, and less prepared for the complex security challenges of the 21st century, a strategic own goal from which it would take decades to recover. The path to a secure and self-reliant future for India lies in strengthening its partnerships with nations that share its democratic values and are willing to engage in true technology collaboration, a path that leads decisively away from Moscow.